know it is our responsibility to keep you informed and do everything we can so this never happens again.
We live in the myth that a lot will never get spilled. We'll never have an accident. Why would that be? Well, for one, because we're Americans, and bad things don't happen to us. And the other myth is that BP, British Petroleum, is so big and so worldwide that it would be too big to fail.
We've talked ourselves into believing that it could never happen here. Right now, corporate America is in charge of every facet of our lives. And BP, the BP catastrophe, is a microcosm of that.
It's an all-out war. It's a cyber war. It's a legal war, an environmental war, a monetary war.
A 20 de abril de 2010, uma forte explosão abana a plataforma petrolífera Deepwater Horizon, no Golfo de México. Leva ao que será o maior derrame de petróleo da América. 130 litros por segundo jorram a 1.500 metros de profundidade, 400 mil litros por hora. Onze trabalhadores perdem a vida. 115 são resgatados, todos em choque, com muitos ferimentos graves. Falham todos os esforços para salvar a plataforma danificada. 2 dias mais tarde, afunda-se no mar.
I was thrown forward into a computer console, and after I hit it, the floor that I was standing on collapsed under me, and I fell into a hole in the deck there. While I was down in a hole, the second explosion happened, and the ceiling caved in on me. And the four of us did our best to escape from there, and we went out to the back deck where there's 2 lifeboats, but those 2 lifeboats are gone. They were just blown off the rig by the explosion.
Houston, Texas. Doug Brown era um mecânico-chefe a bordo da Deepwater Horizon. Ele tem uma reunião informal com o advogado. Testemunha do desastre, Brown recusou dar entrevistas até agora. Ele concede-nos um encontro no seu quarto de hotel.
I was interviewed by the Coast Guard first. And then after that, I was interviewed by Transocean lawyers. And I was not allowed to have my own lawyer at the time. Nothing was ever said about that. And they also did all this after me and the others who were with me being kept awake for over 40 hours at this time.
Brown acredita que esse comportamento faz parte de uma estratégia deliberada da BP. Agora ele contratou o Steve Gordon, um advogado especializado em direito marítimo.
Adjusters, making them sign some statement like, I was asleep, I know nothing, I saw nothing, I'm not hurt. You know, sign here. Then you can go home. So, I mean, how could you not know anything? Give me a break.
Brown diz que foi pressionado para assinar um acordo de confidencialidade. Foi como se as empresas que operavam a plataforma tivessem algo a esconder.
On one hand, they're like, oh yes, we're going to pay all legitimate claims. And on the other hand, they're doing everything possible not to pay a dime.
There's been no hand reached out from Transocean or BP to say, how are you doing?
Teve início uma batalha legal sobre quem é responsável por pagar as indenizações. A BP operava a plataforma, mas sob arrendamento da Transocean. Mas a Halliburton também pode ser parcialmente responsável. Era responsável pelas operações de perfuração e, obviamente, ocultou falhas graves. A empresa Cameron, baseada em Houston, forneceu o sistema de válvulas que deveria ter impedido o derrame de petróleo, mas que foi lamentavelmente inadequado. A Schlumberger foi contratada para supervisionar o poço de petróleo, mas os seus funcionários saíram da plataforma no dia da explosão sem fechar o poço. Talvez surja a questão de quanta culpa é atribuída ao governo americano. Subsidia a perfuração em alto mar, mas permite que as empresas petrolíferas operem com pouca supervisão. Depois temos a Transocean, a proprietária da plataforma afundada, a antiga empregadora de Doc Brown. As seguradoras compensaram a Transocean pela sua perda. Depois a empresa entregou uma reivindicação de limitação de responsabilidade baseada numa lei federal de 1852.
Then they're filing limitations trying to limit their liability to $26 million. Give me a break. After receiving $401 million, they're the only people that's been paid.
It's disgusting. You can't put a cap on something like that. When there are mistakes made and you're responsible, you're responsible. If I get in a car accident and I hit somebody, I'm responsible for paying for that other vehicle or the person's injuries. That's my responsibility as an American, as an adult, and to tell a large multi-billion-dollar corporation that you don't have to pay that. It's disgusting. And it's sad.
Poucas pessoas na indústria petrolífera comentaram publicamente o derrame. Mas John Neufmaster, o antigo chefe da Shell América, deixou bem claro os seus pontos de vista.
What happened on the Deepwater Horizon. This was clearly a man-made incident.
Hofmeister sabe do que fala. Antes do desastre da Deepwater Horizon, ele e a sua equipa perfuraram com sucesso alguns dos poços mais profundos no Golfo do México. Também passaram tubos de perfuração por milhares de metros de água para atingirem as reservas de petróleo mais abaixo. Os custos operativos de uma plataforma moderna chegam aos $500 mil por dia. É por isso que o planeamento é fundamental para estas operações de risco elevado. Para encontrar o petróleo, mas também para identificar os riscos e as zonas perigosas de alta pressão, onde as velocidades de perfuração devem ser reduzidas. Assim, os planeadores podem avaliar quantos dias de perfuração são necessários para evitar erros graves e pressões de tempo. O projeto perdido levou 14 anos a ser terminado. Cada peça de equipamento foi construída para suportar as condições mais extremas. Mas, essencialmente, a mesma tecnologia de segurança foi usada a bordo da Deepwater Horizon. É aqui que está localizado o risco residual de todas as operações em águas profundas. O antigo diretor da Shell América discorda.
Something went badly wrong. The Deepwater Horizon clearly never should have happened. This was a bad situation on one rig at one time. We've drilled over 35,000 wells in that Gulf over 40 years. This has never happened. The industry has drilled over 2,200 deepwater wells. This has never happened. We have to find out who said what, decided what, about whatever, at what time in the process that led to this tragedy and the loss of life.
A Deepwater Horizon operou durante 7 anos sem acidentes. Mas com a operação da BP, tudo mudou.
Yes, that well was a complete nightmare from the moment we started on it.
A perfuração começou em outubro de 2009. Depois, o furacão Aida atravessou o Golfo. Após apenas 40 dias, a primeira tentativa de perfuração teve de ser suspensa.
The drilling of that well and up to the completion was only supposed to take, I believe they said like 90 days. And with all the problems that have happened with that well, the drilling was way far behind schedule. And it was costing BP millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure it was in the millions. And so there was a lot of pressure for them to hurry up and complete this well.
A BP sacrificou a segurança para poupar dinheiro?
But when you rush, or if you work with defective equipment, which may well have been the case, you can put people's lives at risk. That should never happen.
And if you go too fast, like in this case, what it does is it causes the formation that they're drilling through to fracture. And once it's fractured, the drilling fluid, or mud as we call it, will seep through the fractures and start losing the mud.
Inversamente, o gás pressurizado agora afunila nas mesmas fraturas e torna-se perigo de explosão quando começa a subir pelo poço.
I've seen lots of kicks, gas coming up from the well, and we would normally, I've never seen it ever go beyond 1,000 units, but this well repeatedly kept giving us as high as 3,000 units. That's the highest I've ever seen in my entire career out there.
Os furos de perfuração nunca são absolutamente direitos. É por isso que são usados centralizadores para estabilizar o tubo. A Halliburton recomenda 23 centralizadores, mas a BP apenas manda instalar 6. Isso torna o selo de cimento consideravelmente mais fraco de um lado do tubo. Ainda assim, teste ao cimento podia ter detectado os pontos fracos, mas a BP disse que não era necessário.
On the day of the incident, Slumber-J had indeed left the rig, and they weren't going to be performing their last pressure test. I was told that they did not leave on their own account, that they were told to leave. That, hey, the test isn't going to be done, you're free to go.
10 horas depois, o gás e o petróleo começam a subir pelo poço. Apenas o sistema de válvulas ainda pode fechar o poço. Mas a válvula hidráulica é demasiado fraca. Não consegue criar pressão suficiente para cortar o tubo. Apenas o aperta sem selar. Indicações anteriores de defeito grave foram ignoradas.
And ignored a lot of things that were wrong, just so they can save themselves money.
A BP estima que 4,7 milhões de barris de petróleo derramam para o Golfo. Alega que 1/4 foi recuperado por plataformas de emergência. Apenas uma pequena fração é removida da superfície. A maior preocupação é que o crude chega à costa dos Estados Unidos, a menos de 80 quilómetros. A BP quer evitar um cenário tão visível a todos os custos. A BP e a Guarda Costeira Americana concordam em pulverizar dispersante químico numa escala sem precedentes. Mais uns estimados 40 milhões de litros são queimados intencionalmente na superfície. Os restantes 2/3 do crudo parecem ter desaparecido, segundo os números oficiais. O Alabama é dos estados do Golfo mais afetados pelo derrame. Estas praias já estiveram negras. Agora equipas de limpeza recolhem dia após dia as novas bolas de alcatrão que continuam a chegar à terra. Ainda assim, tudo parece ter recuperado a uma velocidade espantosa. Mas os locais sabem que nem tudo é o que parece.
You scrape off the top, you can see the white sand underneath. Massive oil, all of this. And you can see it all the way up.
O petróleo transformou-se de várias formas.
There's that oil right there. And this is the stuff we're worried about. We don't know if this is going to cause, or what kind of health impacts this could cause. Is it going to kill the hermit crabs? Are we going to survive this? Is it going to last forever in the environment? We need to know all of those things. And EPA has not tested and hasn't told us what this foamy, frothy oil mess is.
Embora a água não mostre sinais claros de poluição, há indicações de que alguma coisa está mal. Porto em Alabama. Muitos residentes encontraram trabalho com as várias equipas de limpeza. Trabalham principalmente em sítios muito visíveis. Mas como se limpa milhares de quilómetros de costa com este equipamento, permanece um mistério.
Now we're individually scooping up tar balls on beaches. I mean, it looks good for tourists. It looks good for BP. It employs people. But in terms of long-time environmental cleanup, it's non-existent. It's useless.
A BP começa o controle da notícia.
We identified a group of science people. We brought them in to work directly with us. And we're trying to do our job as best we can and do the best for the environment. And we're working hard and we'll continue to do so until the spill is cleaned up.
Cientistas independentes acreditam que até 70% do petróleo derramado continua a vaguear pelo Golfo. Esta fábrica de processamento de camarão normalmente estaria a funcionar em pleno nesta altura do ano. Desde o derrame, a apanha diminuiu drasticamente. Até gotas minúsculas de petróleo são suficientes para matar o camarão jovem.
You know, we had some weeks we just processed 20,000 pounds of finished product. And that's every week last year we did process over 100,000 pounds of product.
Há um ano atrás, esta fábrica estaria a trabalhar 18 horas por dia, cheia de trabalhadores a lavar e a separar o marisco. Agora a BP empregou muitos dos pescadores no esforço contínuo de limpeza. A nossa equipa de filmagem fretou um barco de pesca esperando ver em primeira mão a área do derrame. Mas a viagem é cancelada à última hora.
Yeah, there was a recent article in the newspaper, or the Daily Comment, that if anyone is caught near the oil from the spill, there was a $40,000 fine. And if I remember the article right, it was being administered by the Coast Guard.
À primeira vista, parece que a Guarda Costeira impôs a multa por iniciativa própria. Mas parece que há outra história atrás das portas fechadas.
This is an IMT, an incident management team. So we are working together in what we call a unified command, where BP works side by side with the Coast Guard.
Tony Hayward, na altura ainda CEO da BP, demonstra a forte ligação da BP com a Guarda Costeira.
What I want to convey to all of you is that we are throwing everything at this. I have said all along, we will be judged by our response. We are ensuring that we have all of our lines of defence available should we need it.
A maior parte da costa do Golfo foi guarnecida de barreiras flutuantes. A nova lei mantém a imprensa à distância e torna a costa quase inacessível. Os habitantes de Grand Isle, em Louisiana, sentem o impacto. Aqui, os pescadores também estão sem trabalho. Normalmente estariam a carregar caixas de peixe fresco 7 dias por semana. Este impasse começa a criar frustração e ira. Clint Guidry, presidente da Associação de Camarão do Louisiana, e Dean Blanchard, o maior comerciante de peixe e marisco do Louisiana, desobedecem aos novos regulamentos da Guarda Costeira. Eles continuam a levar pessoas de fora às áreas afetadas.
I still own that one right there, but the Coast Guard boats that. The United States Coast Guard ought to be lined up and shot for treason. They're not protecting the American people no more. They're protecting a foreign company. They ought to be lined up and shot.
As grandes petrolíferas dominam o Louisiana. Garantem o sustento de 17% da população. Em comparação, a pesca sustenta poucas pessoas.
and the shrimp feed off of the plankton. And if the oil's sitting on top of the plankton, the shrimp and the fish can't feed. And everything works off of the inside. All the little fish come in here, and then they start eating, and as they grow, bigger fish eat them, and it's all a big chain, and then it all works with the Gulf. You're supposed to be 65 feet away from that boom, and we're probably about 40 feet away right now. We're breaking the law, what we're doing right now. If they catch us, they could actually arrest us.
Exceto pelas barreiras flutuantes, são poucos os vestígios do petróleo. Mas a pesca continua proibida por tempo indeterminado.
They gave me a death sentence. That's why I'm so mad at the British. They gave me a death sentence. Everything I worked for, 28 years of work and all my life is ruined. Now I get up, I go to my office, I walk around in a circle. I don't know what to do with myself. You know, I might never work again.
Muitos pescadores locais perderam a esperança. Ninguém sabe quanto tempo o impacto químico vai permanecer na cadeia alimentar.
Yeah, that boat right there, that big boat, the Rachel Collier, belongs to my cousin. They're giving him $15,000 a day just to sit there. He ain't doing nothing at all. It's just a show for the media. Nobody's really doing nothing.
Milhares de barcos parecem estar simplesmente parados. Afinal, o petróleo está limpo?
Well, basically what happens when a lot of oil comes in, when the tide switches, a lot of oil comes in, they'll make all the boats at night go in a certain location. Then they'll come in here at night with military planes and helicopters, and they'll spray disbursements on it and make it sink. The next morning, the boats come out where it was full of oil the night before. The next morning, all the oil's gone. It's all on the bottom, out of sight, out of mind.
Embora não haja petróleo visível, ele está em todo o lado.
We don't know what's going to happen. Well, we don't know. There's so many question marks on this huge gamble of kill the ocean, save the beach.
O crude desta região costuma ter uma cor avermelhada. Quando a verdadeira dimensão do derrame se tornou clara, a BP pediu a aprovação federal para lançar quantidades enormes de dispersantes químicos de petróleo. Esperava-se que esta resposta sem precedentes impedisse o crude de atingir a costa. O dispersante escolhido pela BP está banido na Europa. Embora a sede da BP esteja na Europa, os reguladores nos Estados Unidos são menos rígidos e a BP teve autorização para avançar com o dispersante.
We are applying a chemical, a safe chemical, to disperse the oil. And on this incident so far, we've already dispersed more dispersant than has ever been done in the cumulative oil spill responses in the history of the industry.
Dois meses depois, o petróleo continua a jorrar para o mar, afetando por essa altura uma área do tamanho de Portugal. A pressão pública aumenta. A BP e a Guarda Costeira reagem, publicando estas imagens, esperando manter o controle da notícia. O dispersante químico chama-se Corexit, da palavra inglesa correct, ou corrigir. O fabricante diz que é eficaz. É o que a BP espera. Mais de 4 milhões de litros de Corexit são usados, segundo os números oficiais. A indústria petrolífera gosta de dispersantes. Basta lançá-los sobre a superfície e o petróleo parece desaparecer. Essencialmente, o químico dissolve as plumas de petróleo vermelho em pequenas gotas. É assim que o Corexit funciona. A combinação de químicos decompõe o petróleo em pequenos glóbulos que afundam para lá da superfície e ficam suspensos na água. Isso torna o petróleo invisível a olho nu. Mas continua lá. Apenas foi distribuído pela coluna de água. O Corexit pode não ser tão inofensivo como foi dito. Os navios envolvidos na limpeza reportaram um aumento de problemas nos motores. O Corexit dissolve selos de borracha essenciais que são impermeáveis à água salgada. A limpeza não parece ajudar. Os satélites podem seguir os movimentos da maré negra na superfície. Em áreas em que a água não mostra sinais de petróleo durante dias, o petróleo reaparece subitamente do fundo, até afundar novamente e não poder ser seguido.
What we see in the Deepwater Horizon oil spill is skimming, burning, dispersing, and otherwise cleaning the beaches. It's very ineffective. It's very old school. What I've been advocating to both BP and the Coast Guard on behalf of a number of engineers who have some experience with this methodology is called suck and salvage and separate, where you use pumps to actually suck the oil out of the ocean. Then you can separate the water from the oil, put the water back in. You need super tankers. You need very large boats in order to accommodate that much volume.
Durante o primeiro mês, o mar está calmo e perfeito para a remoção da superfície, mas a BP não envia petroleiros para a remoção do petróleo. Finalmente, a companhia de navegação TMT envia um petroleiro às suas custas, mas é demasiado tarde. O petróleo foi decomposto quimicamente em pequenas partículas que não podem ser removidas.
I think we've missed an opportunity to collect a lot of the oil that came out of that well. Whether it's too expensive, I don't know. I think it would be expensive, but I think it's even more expensive to flood the marshes with oil, to flood the beaches with oil, because the liabilities for the business lost in those communities will be huge and will continue for some period of time.
As correntes conspiraram para empurrar a água poluída inexoravelmente em direção às imaculadas zonas pantanosas da costa do Louisiana. A família de Clint Guidry vive nesta área há gerações. A economia do Louisiana depende da indústria petrolífera. Antes de se tornar pescador comercial, Guidry geria uma refinaria petrolífera. Pela sua experiência em ambas as ocupações, ele sabe o que pode acontecer quando são usados dispersantes químicos.
See this well? This is an oil well. And this is the well that actually got run over by the barge. And at night, they would come and spray dispersant, and when you use dispersant to this depth, it goes into the mud, and it just stays there. And I know for 3 years, we used to catch a lot of shrimp up in here. 3 years, you couldn't catch nothing. Just dead, like a dead zone.
A doutora Ricky Ott foi chamada. Ela é toxicologista marítima. A doutora Ott trabalhava na indústria pesqueira no Alasca. Mas o derrame de petróleo do Exxon Valdez fê-la mudar de carreira. Tornou-se toxicologista, especialista nos efeitos secundários do Corexit.
The industry likes to say the oil will miraculously be eaten by, bacteria and disappear. Bacteria are very good at eating alkanes. These are straight chain carbons that are hitched together much like a train with different cars. The bacteria can just be like Pac-Man and go chomp, chomp, chomp and eat one alkane, carbon after another until the oil, in fact, does disappear. The problem is, the mess that's in the Gulf is alkanes and aromatics.
Embora as bactérias decomponham longas cadeias de moléculas de petróleo, não são eficazes contra as cíclicas. Estas permanecem na água, o que foi descoberto após um derrame de petróleo em 1968. As moléculas policíclicas de petróleo ainda lá estão.
And what happened during Exxon Valdez was we also used Corexit 9527, which is being used here in the Gulf. And Corexit 9527 contains a human health hazard. It breaks apart blood and breaks down blood cells, causes kidney damage, liver damage, blood disorders, and it even kills babies in the womb. It's a fetal toxin. I mean, this is a nasty chemical. When the oil industry says these dispersants are non-toxic, what they mean is they're non-toxic based on outdated 1970s era bioassays. The scientific community knows that dispersed oil is more toxic than not dispersed oil. And it knows that dispersants and dispersed oil are more toxic than oil alone. So what this chemical effectively does for the oil industry is it takes care of a public relation nightmare, which is oil all over the surface of the ocean, and pushes the oil instead down into the water column.
Pelo menos, este objetivo parece ter sido atingido. As pessoas começam a ignorar o petróleo escondido e as crianças correm novamente para a costa. A maior parte das leis ambientais dos Estados Unidos são negligentes, comparadas com as europeias.
For the first time in the history of the industry, we are now deploying dispersant at the source of the leak, 5,000 feet beneath the seabed, and it appears to be having a very significant impact.
Numa profundidade de 1.500 metros, a BP lança 2,5 milhões de litros de Corexit para o crudo tóxico. Quando cientistas críticos da medida protestam, os restantes lançamentos não são documentados publicamente. A BP defende o uso de dispersantes tóxicos, alegando que irá facilitar a decomposição pelas bactérias do crudo. Medições revelam que o petróleo não se decompôs como se esperava. Na realidade, numa profundidade de 1.200 metros, é descoberta uma pluma de petróleo sólida. Nesta área temos apoelinks, que levantam naturalmente nutrientes do fundo do mar. Agora também levantam petróleo que é apanhado por correntes naturais. Residentes das zonas pantanosas do Louisiana tornam-se cada vez mais céticos dos relatórios da BP e do governo. Eles formaram uma rede para preencher as falhas na informação sobre o verdadeiro impacto do petróleo.
The purple ones are all fishing organization representatives. Some of them Ricky goes to, where she already has the contacts. This thing is too big for any one of us individually, one of these groups, to do by ourselves, because we can't beat a big corporation and the government by ourselves. This stuff right here was the stuff that was in the canal. This is the little bitty dots. You're going to see the dispersed oil. It's like thousands of little tiny red dots in there.
Yeah, I seen it. I could see. But when I seen it, it was...
See it? Can you see them in there? That's just through the whole water column from the top to the bottom. And you can never... How are you ever going to clean that up? Right.
See that?
See all that little red dots? That's dispersed oil in the canals.
When it comes in like this, it's not sticking to the absorbent boom. And this clearly proves that it didn't work, you know.
Eles deram pequenas câmaras a trabalhadores da limpeza, pedindo-lhes para filmarem secretamente as limpezas.
The methods used are not the most effective methods. There should be equipment manufactured, fabricated, and created to deal with a spill this magnitude. I think that they're using manual labor and that they're paying us well to keep us quiet so that they can continue to do business, so that we don't have a national or international boycott of BP. I don't think that we're going to be able to capture much. We're not being that effective.
Este depoimento pode custar-lhe o trabalho e o único rendimento que lhe resta. Os trabalhadores estão obrigados por contrato a não discutir o derrame em público.
BP says, you're not allowed to talk to this worker. Well, who says I'm not allowed to talk to this worker? The sheriff's office? No, BP said it. It's a police state. It's worse in Louisiana than it is here, and it'll continue getting worse. Look, it is that totalitarian idea that we have to be in control of everything. It's part of the corporatism I'm telling you about.
O Mike Papantónio é um dos melhores advogados americanos. É especialista em crime empresarial.
Okay, we ready, gang? You gotta film it? Yeah. All right.
Ele também é apresentador de um programa de rádio que mantém um olho crítico na política americana.
We'll still probably have about 4 minutes till air.
Defendeu com sucesso vítimas de crimes empresariais, o que pode aplicar-se no caso da BP.
Turn up your mind.
But it's all part of practicing law nowadays.
Well, joining us on the line right now is environmental attorney Mike Papantonio. Mike, thanks again for being with us.
We're seeing a pattern of BP making insane decisions on behalf of government. You talk about how horrible the BP story is, but you know what, Nicole? That same story is told on Wall Street every day. It's told in every facet of our American life, and we sit there and let it happen because we're more concerned about what the hell Paris Hilton wore yesterday to a party than we are what's happening to our democracy. In this town right here, BP is already securing leases for 10 years, which tells me they intend to be here for 10 years, which tells me they intend to delay the cleanup so they can amortize or spread out those costs over 10 to 15 years. That's so they can stay looking healthy. That's so Shell or Exxon doesn't come in and do a hostile takeover of them. That's so they can go to their shareholders and say, buy more stock, we're a healthy company. Because the longer they can amortize it and delay the payment, the better off they are.
O Mike já ganhou casos contra a poderosa indústria tabaqueira. Agora está a acusar a BP de realizar atos como uma organização criminosa. Bandeiras vermelhas ao longo da costa significam que é proibido nadar. Mas o petróleo, agora dissolvido em espuma, chega à costa onda após onda. A Guarda Costeira e outras instituições tiram amostras, mas não de todos os sítios. É cada vez mais difícil obter informação independente, até sobre questões de saúde. A BP consegue outro golpe, contratando cientistas com salários atrativos, mas com um acordo de confidencialidade. Isto permite à BP ter controle sobre as suas investigações críticas.
And I am determined that we do the right thing, we do it the right way, and we communicate in an open and transparent way to all of our stakeholders.
Mas a BP perdeu acionistas e está cada vez mais concentrada em limpar a sua imagem.
The question is whether this horror movie will turn on a light in the American mind and say, hey, we're partially responsible. We have to change. We have to get the government to change. Will that happen? We're a very short-term people, BP will last in the news until they cap the well.
A 15 de julho de 2010, 90 dias e uns estimados 750 milhões de litros mais tarde, uma tampa temporária é colocada no poço. A BP e o presidente Obama dão as boas notícias ao povo americano. Enquanto continua a perfuração em poços de emergência, as complicações continuam a surgir. Apenas um mês depois, formam-se bolhas de gás perto da fuga selada.
If I learned one thing during my tenure as Shell Oil's president, I learned that the American people, given the facts, are smart and they are pragmatic. We can't drive cars and trucks and planes and buses and ships with wind and solar energy. Not now, not in 10 years, not in 20 years. Our nation, its economy, its jobs, its people, its lifestyle requires 10,000 gallons a second every day. Whether we like it or whether we don't like it, reality is reality. And if we don't keep drilling, where's it coming from?
A procura mundial de petróleo em crescimento parece exigir mais poços em águas profundas. Mas os números simples contam outra história. Segundo Matt Simmons, um dos mais bem-sucedidos banqueiros dos Estados Unidos. Ele tem seguido com atenção a indústria offshore nos últimos 40 anos.
Half the Gulf of Mexico is almost depleted.
And the other half is resting on a handful of supergiant fields that will not be supergiants 5 years from now. Only 2 fields reached their design capacity. The average got to 50% of the design capacity for about a month or 2. So they were all effectively commercial failures, in a sense. Because had they basically known that they could only produce that little, they would have spent 1/3 the amount of money and come up with smaller things. So this is the best minds in the industry that are excitedly talking about these things, and they don't tend to go back and look at their own data.
Se tem poucos lucros, porque continua a indústria a investir milhares de milhões de dólares em novas plataformas.
In effect, we'd subsidize them for doing it. When you add up those subsidies, you get to $50 billion, just from 33 deepwater rigs. That's a lot of money that we are paying them. They're not paying us.
O Matt Simmons deve muito do seu sucesso às indústrias offshore, mas ainda assim fica perturbado ao saber da continuação da perfuração em águas profundas.
But what worried me over the last 10 years is I saw with great pride the industry finally perfect its technology so that it could go to water depths of almost unlimited nature and start going to reservoir pressures that we hadn't done offshore ever and onshore only briefly in the 70s, is that we really didn't have a lot of trained young people, and we never developed a fire truck that if you were 5,000 feet underwater, you had a problem. Could you ever put it out? And the answer is no. We just assumed that it would put itself out. And the tragic crescendo of Macondo is it really shows that basically what we have left is really tough to do. And exposes the industry to risks that we didn't develop equipment to adequately do. And that problem could happen to anybody.
Esta foi a última entrevista de Matt Simmons. Ele morreu alguns dias mais tarde, a meio do processo de criar uma nova empresa de energias marítimas alternativas. Enquanto isso, as rodas da era do petróleo continuam a rolar.
The notion that there's something called clean energy and something called dirty energy is a myth. It's a misnomer. Because every energy, every form of energy has implications. For example, we're counting the dead pelicans in the Gulf. Why aren't we publicly exposing and counting the dead birds that try to fly through wind farms by the thousands?